Hey everyone, it's Elliot. Bad news. I think I'm in creative block. I had to do logo design yesterday, and I think it took a week off my life. Oh my god, I am bad at logo design. But what I think I am good at is poster design and funny design. So to try and bring me back into a state of inspiration and joy, I figured it would be nice this week, instead of designing something for you, to talk about things that I have already designed. You know, things that I took a long time to make. More than just a 60-minute design challenge or something I did for a video. Serious design. So I thought we could just have a quick chat, if that's all right with you. So yeah, okay. Do we think this microphone is abnormally large, or is it a regular sized microphone? I think it depends on the camera angle, but I really can't tell anymore. You know what? Maybe we should take this to the couch today. Let's do that. There you go, boy. You can sit on the couch with me today. The dog's back, everyone. Well, this is fun, isn't it? New little angle. I'm pretty happy sitting up here. I feel very relaxed. I feel very awkward at the same time. Let's go back to where it all started, eh? If you don't know me, Elliot, you might have seen my work on Instagram. I'm like the funny design guy. I post funny posters. I try and make like design memes designed well, you know, because there's a real gap in the market for design comedy, even though there's kind of like a monopoly on design comedy by designers' humor. But I don't know if you'd call them comedy, am I right? They have 900,000 followers. And this is kind of where it all started, these little business cards here. This would be my first kind of funny design, I guess, like branching into that realm. They say, I don't have a degree, I hope that's okay. YouTube taught me everything I know. Most of my CV is work I did for free. You know, kind of just like an honest way of depicting myself in the industry, I guess. I didn't want to be like a super professional guy. Like I tried that really hard for a few years before, and it just wasn't fun and enjoyable. So I thought I'd put a twist on it. And these did really well on Instagram and gave me a lot of confidence. And I kind of felt like, oh, you know, here we go. Now we have a bit of momentum. There's people like this. This is cool. I posted them on Reddit, and they were not received very well at all. People took them very seriously. Why was I surprised? Here's one of my favorite designs that I made early on in the Elliot is a Cool Guy life. It's a poster here that just says, I'm a graphic designer by day, but I'm mainly a graphic designer by night. Nice and simple, very relatable as someone who works 24/7, am I right? No, I take breaks. But this is kind of the start of, like, if you've seen my more recent stuff, this is the start of, I guess, my style developing. I really like the red, yellow, and blue, and I just use that in pretty much everything now, and a little bit of an off-white in the background. The same font that I used today, I believe that's Noya Montreal by Pangram. It's just this is the key Elliot design, you know, and it kind of all started. Here's another one I did. Real designers make logos in Photoshop. This is a absolute classic. I did this in Photoshop as well, and I still like Photoshop a lot, and I don't think I should be, you know, sued for that. People were very upset about this one. And this is where it all kind of really starts, right? This is my first poster that I made for my page. I used to just do the business card thing exclusively, and then I brought this into it. And I still love this poster so much. Some of my best copy I think I've made. If it looks cool, then it is good. This is design thinking, and then a little bit of text at the bottom. Just kind of like poking fun at the whole like idea of design thinking, and, you know, we're problem solvers. I just want to make stuff that people would, you know, put on their wall, right? That's kind of fun. So that's art, I guess. Yeah. Also, these little effects in the middle here are really fun too. Let me quickly show you as well. I want to do this as part of this video. I want to show you how I make some of this stuff in the quickest way possible. So let me show you how I make these shapes, and that's what I'll show you, how to make these shapes. Okay, to make those shapes, we have to start with the border, the main shape part. You know what I mean? Okay, good. You're following. So let's start with like a rounded rectangle, fill it in with any color, add like a 10 pixel stroke going around the outside. Can be whatever you want though. We're going to duplicate that layer and then move it a little bit to the bottom right, kind of like a little drop shadow. Change the fill to black. And then what we can do is group these two together. We're going to keep that for later just in case, you know, we fuck up or something. And then we've got this main rasterized layer here. Now, some people might have an issue with it being rasterized, and that's okay. I'm sure you can do this in Illustrator, but I actually like the pixel effect. So we're going to go into Edit, Transform, and then Warp. And this is where it gets fun. We can start kind of moving this shape around, and as you can see, that stroke is just going to give us kind of like this weird outline kind of thing going on, which I find is really fun. It gets you like cool little swirls like this. We're just moving it around, really. I'm not really caring about where this goes. And then I can just kind of press enter whenever I feel like I'm ready to let it settle. And then we have some kind of like weird shape, and you can keep warping this as much as you want. And what you can do, of course, later is add kind of like what I did in that other one was I added a gradient on top, and then I played around with some blending modes to get it to be filled into this yellow part, you know? Does that make sense? I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense. My first gradient orb, my first true gradient orb right here. This was, what did I make this? The 17th of March, 2021. Jesus Christ. Everyone is posting these things. You would always combine it with some kind of like motivational text as well. So my one here was, everything is changing so fast and I feel like I'm missing out on something, but hey, I'm just going to keep doing me, I guess. Haha. And then it says bottom right corner in the bottom right corner. Nice. This was meant to be a funny poster. It's become my most popular design. I think because people find it motivational. It was more just kind of like me expressing how I felt in a way. It wasn't like, it was just meant to be like an honest way of me talking about stuff. And I really like the gaps in the text there. Big fan of having fun with your text boxes, everyone. Can highly recommend it. You might have noticed with the way I read it out, it changes the way you read a block of text when you put random spaces in between. And I think it's a really cool effect that is underused. I think people need to do stuff like that more. It's really fun. So do that. It changed the experience, the reading experience. But of course, we have our gradient orb here, and this was the start of an era for me. And let me tell you that. I was like, for 6 months, every design I would make would have a gradient orb. I swear, I absolutely adore the things because they're a lot of fun to make. I have a tutorial up already that you can watch pretty much how to make this exact one. It's my first video on the channel, so I won't run you through how to do it in this video, but there is another video that explains it much better because it takes like 5 minutes, and me talking about it for this long will take 5 minutes. So I'm just gonna move on. This is a really fun series that I like. This is like my computer fucking up series, trying to, you know, turn a negative into a positive kind of vibe. So as you can see, it says the first one, if your computer keeps running out of battery, it's because it thinks you deserve a break. If your computer gets really hot, it's because it can't handle how good your designs are. And if your computer fan is really loud, it's just trying to tell you how proud it is of you. Funny, very relatable stuff, right? I used to have this old, I had one of those Microsoft Surface laptop things, and I just remember it was one of the first generation ones, and in its 5th year, I think, when I was starting this page and kind of starting to take things more seriously, I remember that feeling of just having it on your lap and suddenly going from, you know, a normal body temperature to overheating very quickly, and it's intense. What's interesting now, however, is after switching to a PC, I kind of miss the laptop experience. I feel very locked to my desk, so I do appreciate the flexibility that a laptop brings, even though it might overheat. Instead, with the computer, you just get a fan, really loud fans that go off like all the time. I used to have my computer on my desk, like sitting on top of my desk. Now it's below my desk. When it was on top of my desk, jeez Louise, it turned into a heater for the room. Wild. But yeah, these designs are just using that shape that I did in the design thinking one, and just changing the color in each one and I just rotated them, actually. I think it's the same shape. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same shape, just slightly rotated. How funny. That's cutting corners, everyone. That's saving time. This poster here was I'm a big fan of this one. It says, I would love one of my posts to be shared by a big page so I can get many new followers and a fleeting moment of joy. And then a bunch of little text as well. This is when I started doing the little text stuff. I really like adding a bunch of little text and these little blocks kind of all around the place to accompany like a kind of bigger message. I find it a really fun way of communicating my kind of honest thoughts, because I don't read them back or anything. I just kind of like type what I'm thinking at the moment, and then I just chuck them up there. I see them more as shapes, you know, because they fit really nicely. Otherwise, you just have all this empty space, and that'd be boring. So I like having all the text there. This poster also got shared by a page with over 1 million followers, and was a big part in my follower growth on this page. So it worked. It worked in the end. Great. You want to get shared? Just make a poster about getting shared. Turns out that's all you have to do. God, I adore this one. This is the 2 bodies intertwined in graphic design poster that I made. This was in the era of, this was after I would say this follows the gradient orb era, or maybe it exists within the gradient, it probably exists within the gradient orb era, but slightly afterwards. There was a thing with like using these 3D kind of bodies, like stock images of these 3D bodies kind of like floating around, and it would say stuff like, you know, your love was so profound that I had to stop loving you, you know, something like that. Might write that one down. So I wanted to make my own, of course, about graphic design. So I made this two bodies intertwined in graphic design. There are some heads that you can see, some 3D heads in there. And this is just taking a gradient orb and then kind of like layering it on top of each other and then warping it outside of the orb, so you get these kind of cool shapes. And then I'm pretty sure just using like darker color and lighter color blending modes. I used to make this kind of stuff all the time, and I don't make it anymore, which is a shame. I like this style. It's a lot of fun to do, but I just kind of got bored of it. There's only so many gradient orbs you can make, you know, and you got to move on. So, but I don't know. I should experiment more. This one's really lovely. A rare wholesome moment. Being a good designer doesn't mean being good at every aspect of design. I have no idea how to make logos. Here, still holds true over a year later. There are so many facets of design that exist that you can't be good at all of them, right? You can't be a jack of all trades. I think it's much better to specialize and get really good at kind of like one area. There's a lot of people who are like exclusively logo designers. Mad respect to them. I don't know how you do it, but good on you. And then there are a lot of people like to do like posters, merch design, you know, specifically like album artwork. And I think that's really cool. I like how you can specialize so much. So I really do think that being a good designer isn't a jack of all trades kind of thing. I love this poster as well. I like that little gradient going on in the background there. That's just I think that's the gradient orb from the last poster that I just like overlaid and made it white. I really like how the text block is kind of all over the place. It makes it read interestingly, I guess. It's fun. So yeah, I really like this one, and it still holds true. I used busy to describe how I'm feeling again. Good one. This is my favorite probably graphic that I've made. This was actually when I was making 7 posts a week. I made this poster because I was really busy, and I would make all of my posters in one day. I set aside my Tuesday, and I did 7 posters in a single day, which is why a lot of them kind of look the same in this era, because I was like, you know, doing them on the same day. And I would always just somehow manage to be motivated on a Tuesday so that I could do it. But Wednesday I did nothing because I was so burnt out. I think I streamed on a Tuesday night as well. There were too many things I was doing on a Tuesday. It was ridiculous. But this one's very fun. It's also like not really a graphic design exclusive joke, which I like too, and it did very well with the bigger audience, which was fun. It was nice to reach out to general creatives and freelancers and people, I guess. Common feeling. But yeah, I actually have forgotten how I made this little gradient thing, which is a shame because I really like it. Actually, I know what I did. Let me show you. Okay, just wanted to point out that it's actually ridiculous how I saved my files, because as you can see, there are what, like 7, 8 layers in this file, and one of them is just the merged, like, this is just this is that. That's literally that. So that doesn't give us that doesn't help too much. But what I can tell you is that essentially this is like a bunch of different gradient orbs kind of overlaid on top of each other using different blending modes like darker color and lighter color. So they kind of like ease into each other really nicely. I'm always adding noise to them as well, and using like dissolve blend modes too. And how you get like this bright yellow part though, for example, is something that once again, I simply don't do this enough. But if you go into select and then color range, you can kind of choose a color that you like. So like this yellow here, for example, let's choose that yellow, and then we can create a new layer on top, and we can fill this in with, say, let's change it to like a weird green kind of thing. Let's fill that in there. Press Control D to deselect, and there we go. Now we kind of have like a different vibe going on. I don't know what happened to the border of this shape here, but there it is. It's back. But yeah, you kind of get the idea there, and it gives it a really nice effect going on. I think it plays well with the noise and stuff. Okay, cool tip. Nice. Back to regular programming. Nothing wrong with using Canva. Canva jokes suck. Yeah, baby. How many Canva jokes have you seen in your lifetime, right? Especially from that designer's humor page. Too many, I say. If you still think Canva is like, oh, you know, ha ha ha, you use Canva, you're not a real designer. Shut up. At the end of the day, they're the ones who are using a free software, and I'm the one paying, you know, $80 a month to Adobe without the discount. You got to get the discount, guys, or find another way of acquiring the software. Canva commented a wink emoji on this one, which is very cheeky of them. This one is a part of my Google series. I've made like 10 of these by now, but this is kind of like the change in style to my more current Elliot looking design, and I love these so much. What these allow me to do is just cram a bunch of ideas into the one poster, which is really fun, and just, you know, rather than focusing an entire poster on how to cut out background, you know, I can do 10 different ideas and kind of like develop on the ideas as I go down the poster. There's like feels like there's a little bit of a story going on, which I really like. But yeah, I think I've made like 3 more after this, and they always are a hit. People do love these ones, and I love them as well, so I'm going to keep making them. But yeah, a nice little simple design. That's actually a nod to one of the first designs I ever made. Look at this comparison. Isn't that amazing? Graphic design is very important. No, it isn't. But who will make the signs? I don't care. And I still don't. I think this is just the pinnacle of how I feel about graphic design in general. I really do think that it is an important thing. That's why I'm so, I'm very passionate about it. I care a lot about graphic design. I take note of it. I see it around everywhere, and I think very hard about it. But at the same time, I could not care less about graphic design, and I don't know where I draw the line. It's a funny career, isn't it? This little thing that we do, this graphic design thing. I can only enjoy it to a certain extent, which is why I like making these videos and kind of making the Twitch streams and stuff where there's a different element to it. It's more so I can talk about it. I can do things with it rather than just sit in quiet and make it. I can't do that. Like, I need to make a performance out of it. And that's when I like it. When it feels like it's when it feels like it's art and I'm enjoying it and having fun. There's nothing better than seeing a design come together, right? Like, I remember making this one and finding that font at the top. That's called Tenon. Beautiful, beautiful font. When the I of the graphic design sits so nicely next to the P of graphic, does it get any better than that? And the brush script works so well, and the little symbol, everything it feels like it's perfectly composed. And I really, this one is very close to my heart. Very personal design. No, I think it's very good and funny. I feel like this is one of my strongest, at least, like top 3 strongest designs. And I haven't been able to replicate it. I try so hard, but I think there was something about it's the perfect sized sentence to like have the font in that size, the spacing to work the way it does, like everything just feels right to it. I got these little shapes, that nice little block of yellow, using just like a slightly darker orange as a feature color rather than the background orange. Nice. And of course the text, do not question my design choices because I did not question them myself, is just, once again, 100% how I feel about design. I'm not one of those kind of guys who's like, oh, this is here because of this reason and this is here because of that reason. Like, sometimes I do that, sure, if you really want to think about it. But, a lot of these designs just exist on Instagram. So I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun and honestly just trying to get a lot of engagement because that's how I make money. This is my job. The main font here is called Ico by Pangram. And I think this is the only time I've used it on my page, which is such a shame because it is a beautiful, beautiful font. So God bless Pangram. I love them. I would call them family. This one's a lot of fun. You might recognize this font as Kristen ITC, and you're probably thinking, Elliot, what the fuck are you doing using Kristen ITC in a design? Well, if you haven't heard, I do a very cool little yearly thing, which I'm very much looking forward to in December this year, called the 7 Days of Bad Fonts, where essentially I choose 7 fonts to make posters for, and these fonts are usually ones that are considered bad, but my belief is that no font is bad, and we're going to prove it by doing the 7 Days of Bad Fonts. And that's kind of the point, using these fonts and trying to make them look good, I guess, or a way that you think is cool. Good little exercise, finding fonts that you would probably never use again. I would always start with something like Comic Sans. I think Comic Sans is a very easy font to use if you really just try. I've done like 5 designs on my page. See how you go with Comic Sans, and then move on to Papyrus. Papyrus is a very difficult font to use. I really struggle with that one, but Comic Sans is nice and easy, so it's a good little challenge for you, eh? How good are design challenges? Now, this poster here is one of my favorites that I've ever made, and it was actually a poster that I made coming out of like a period of creative block. I was stuck for like months. I reckon like 3 months I made like 4 posts, and the rest were just like compilation posts or print sale alerts and all this stuff, photos of me. Like, I wasn't making anything new. I got quite negative about graphic design for a little bit there. I think design is one of those things that you really have to keep a positive mindset about, otherwise you get trapped in the rest of the world telling you that it is a terrible career and that all graphic designers hate themselves and all this stuff. Like, you really got to just push through all that. I mean, most of graphic design comedy in general is self-deprecating, right? And that's what people find relatable and funny, which says a lot about the industry. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, you just gotta really go, no, I do this because I enjoy it. I'm having fun, and I'm a graphic designer because I like it. Because we all started it with the intention of liking it, right? No one starts a graphic design career unless maybe you change from being an artist to a graphic designer, but even then you can consider yourself an artist as a graphic designer. So it's a creative field. You don't just end up as one. So you got to remember that. I'm struggling to recently, but you really gotta, oh, you know. And the last design I wanted to show you is this one here that I made on the 26th of September 2019, and I think it just really, you know, it's an emotional design. It's actually quite hard for me to talk about it without welling up, because it just shows, you know, the hope that there was in this young boy starting an Instagram page who just had no idea what the fuck he was posting on Instagram. I had a Donald Duck era, a Donald Duck clip art era in like the first few months of my page. Huh? That's a terrible Donald Duck impression. And here we are today, YouTube man, making video content for the people. Wow, what a ride it has been. By the way, most of the posters that I showed you, not to plug, but they are available to buy on my store if you are so inclined. It's actually, you know, it's quite sweet looking back at all those designs. I'm very happy with how far this has all come, and I'm glad people still like the design comedy stuff, and hopefully this kind of helped you get an idea, maybe if you're thinking about starting an Instagram design page, or maybe you're a bit lost as to where to go to kind of like, but I mean, I think the reason that I kept posting, right, was because it was combining something that I love, which is comedy, with something that I love, which is graphic design, right? I think it was exclusively graphic design. If I was just posting a poster every day that didn't mean anything to me, I would have really struggled. So it's gonna be fun. Even then, I was going through and saving these old posts to my save tab that I will look at for inspiration now, because I can remember how inspired I was in that moment, and how those elements have disappeared from my work now, you know? So I want to kind of get back into that. This was a really nice video to make. I'm glad I didn't force myself to design anything. I have a Design Chef video ready for you. I'm going to bring it out next week. The challenge is fucked, but it might get, I don't know. It's very silly. I hope you enjoyed this style of video. If you want to see me, you know, give more talky kind of style rather than designy style, I'm happy to do that. They're a lot easier to make. If you have any questions ever, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will try my best to help you out on your design journey, because it's fun, and I value providing knowledge. Okay, feel free to subscribe if you would like to do that, and hit a like on the video too. I'll either see you at Design Chef this week, or I'll see you next week for another YouTube video. Okay, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and I'll see you next time. Bye. See ya. That's what I say to finish. See ya. I say see ya to finish the video. See ya. Bye. See ya.